Hey, witches.
Hi, witches. Welcome to the New Witches Meetup group, week 2 of the Beginner Witch series. We'll get started in just a moment. Okay, so we're at 7:37, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who are joining us again from last week, thank you for coming back. I'm so glad to see you again. For those of you who are new, my name is Kat. I'm a newer witch. This is my daughter, Jayme. She's a more mature, experienced witch, 23, almost 23 years into her practice. I'm almost 3 into mine. We started the New Witches Q&A meetup group in November of 2020, and we have grown that community to over 900 witches.
900
That's super excited.
witches. Blows my mind.
We have a business that we started called 7 Green Sisters, and the focus of that is to help witches on their journey and with education and just building a community. That's really our goal. We started out, we thought we were going to sell a bunch of stuff on Etsy.
Be creators.
And you know what? That crap is really hard. It's really hard to put out a bunch of stuff that you can sell. It's like, man, you got to be dedicated to that.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it's not fulfilling because you don't have a community there. And my thing is teaching. I love to teach people about this. So I quit my job, and COVID helped with that. And I started this, and I was like, I'm going all in. This is what I'm doing. So spiritual counselor for witches. There you go.
And I'm here to co-host and do whatever I can do to help. So I'm learning and teaching and learning at the same time. So that's a little bit about us. If you join our group, join the Facebook group, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself. If you're comfortable with that, if you're not, totally cool. It's your journey. Do as you please. We do what we want.
Do what we want.
Okay, so I know the description of this said finding your path, but last week I got a little bit ahead of myself and I was sort of dived into that area already. So we've kind of covered the finding your path. And I guess the only thing I'll say about that is, you know, if you haven't done some of the journaling prompts, don't do them all if you don't feel like you need to, but do some of them just to kind of solidify like where you are today in your journey, especially about some of the things that you believe as a witch. These are personal beliefs. They're unique to you. You may share them with others. You may not. Whatever it is, that's okay. So week 2, we're going to go right into witches tools. The first thing we're going to talk about is a witch's box. What is a witch's box? A witch's box is a place to store your magical tools. I put a couple of pictures of a box that I had and put a bunch of stuff in it. Now I'm lucky. I feel fortunate that I live in a place, in a home where I can have my stuff out on display or just sitting around. I have quite the collection. I have some in my bedroom. I have a whole little office space where I have these things, but not everybody has that. So if you need a witch's box, you need a place to store your tools. It's fun to make one or find a cool, interesting box and store things in it.
Also because of kids. I mean, I haven't had a young kid. My son's 16 now, and I'm her kid. So I'm 40. So she doesn't have to worry about kids. But the dog, I mean, you know, to make sure that you keep things away from your pets that they shouldn't get into, or children, or people that you have over as children.
And sometimes you just want to keep the dust off of stuff. If you live in a really dusty place, like right now it's dusty because I have all my windows open. And you don't have to use a box. You can also use a drawer in your, a dedicated drawer in your house, or a cupboard in your house to keep your things. So that's a witch's box, and it's for your magical tools. So this week, one of your exercises is to create and decorate a box if you want to. If you don't want to, skip this exercise. If you do, take a picture and share it with us because I think they would be fun to see. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about, so one of the things that we're going to be doing through the course of this is we're going to be collecting information and adding it to our Book of Shadows or our journal or whatever you chose to name your personal notebook that you started, that I hope that you started last week. So we're going to be adding things to that. And one of the things that we're going to add to that is information about the elements of air, earth, water, and fire. These are the building blocks of everything that's around us. And these magical elements are a symbolic way to classify things in our environment. So I'm going to read you a list. And again, you don't have to write this down because I'm giving it to you in a Word document so you can get it there. Don't feel like you have to scribble really fast because I talk kind of fast and I need to really slow down. I just realized that I'm like, slow down. But the first one is air. And air is represented by our breath, the air we breathe in our breath. Air is related to thoughts and mental processes. Conversations or ideas would belong to the element of air. The color associated with air is oddly enough yellow. We don't really relate to that. It seems like a strange color for air, but that's what most of the information, you might find some different information, but
or make your own.
Jayme makes her own. She says air to her is white.
Air to me is like a white or a gray. Yeah. I don't know why you would need that and what you would ever do with that, but you might want it at some point in time. Color coordination for like candles or clothes, or it's how, once you get these references down, then it's how you want to incorporate that. So a quick example, if you needed to empower yourself for a big speech that you had to do, maybe you wear yellow for that, or put a yellow stone in your pocket for that. And just knowing that color coordination can help you when you're trying to invoke that energy. So that would be one way.
That's a great way to tie that in. I love that. You might also find that if you're suddenly drawn to the color yellow and you never have been before, there might be a reason behind that. Like maybe all of a sudden you're working on conversing with people or some other mental process. I don't know, what else might you be working on if you were suddenly drawn to the color yellow?
Well, yellow is usually associated with people who are outgoing. So it's like a vibrant, high energy color. It's our solar plexus. So that would be the outgoing creativity. And so yellow could incorporate that. If you find yourself having a lot of yellow, you're attracted to that color. Maybe that's because you like to do it, or it's something that you need to improve upon. I often say that our closets are a good way to say what we don't work on or what we might need to work on because it's not represented in the scheme of our life. So if you have nothing around you, ask yourself how you feel about communication, intellectual processes, sharing your thoughts. That's just one way to decipher it, using colors as a way to divine your life, the divination. I gotta let the puppy in.
Okay, so air, the season associated with air is winter. The tarot suit that's associated with air is swords. The direction, when we're placing things like on an altar, is to the east for air. And other representations of air are like feathers, incense, and yellow things. And there's also a little symbol for air, which I drew it here. That did not come through on the, when I copied and pasted the document into the Google Docs. You won't see that. It didn't copy over because it's a little drawing that I did. So that's the element of air. The element of earth is represented by a lot of things like stones and crystals, dirt, plants, and trees. It's related to, the earth element is related to material wealth, health, physical and tangible things. Money and land would belong to the element of earth. No surprise here, the color is green or brown for earth. The season is spring. The tarot suit is pentacles. The direction is north, and other representations for earth could be salt or green things, anything green. And here's a little symbol for earth, the upside down triangle with a little line through it. I can never remember those, so I have to draw them. Okay, fire is the next element. It's represented by fire, of course, and the color red. It's related to the masculine. It's also related to passion, rage, creativity, phallic shapes. The color is red. The season is summer. The tarot suit is wands. The direction is south. Other representations, candles, and red things. And this is the symbol for
fire.
Fire. It looks like a little campfire, actually, when you think about it.
So I think fire is one of my favorite elements to work with, because I know you didn't mention it, but fire is also transformation. So anytime that you want to transform, or if you're at a crossroads for transformation, working with fire is a great element to bring that about. There's a lot of like mythological stories, and the favorite is the phoenix rising from the ashes. That's true change from fire. So when you do spells, or if you want to sit around a fire and do fire scrying, such a hard word to say for me, using fire as an element to bring about change in your life it can be really powerful, because you can watch it. Every flicker of the candle is a change in a direction of some kind. So I love to work with fire.
And that's interesting because you're a water sign, and so water puts out fire.
Well, what's even more interesting is that I have earth, air, and water in my chart, but I have no fire. So it seems like that's my balance. That's the element that I go to first, because then I have a representation within my practice and my natal chart. It's all the elements. So that one just balances me out. I think maybe that's why I'm so drawn to it. Although I really don't like the color red at all.
She has no red attire.
I'm
like
trying to change
nothing
that.
red. I think you do have some burgundy or some maroons, but not
Yeah.
red like
Not
the
red.
color that I painted my nails tonight to go
Nope.
along with fire.
Nope. And I chose a mate that he loves to wear Chiefs clothes. We came from the Midwest, so he loves the Chiefs. And he wears red all the time, which is kind of cute, because then it's, opposites attract a little bit, maybe. I don't know. But he's a big red shirt wearer. So that's just, when you look at our closets, you can see his color scheme, and then mine's mostly black, white, grays. There's a couple pinks maybe, but yeah. Look in your closet, see what it says about you. Start to relay that color information and see if it says like you're heavy towards one element or another. And just, there's no judgment on it. It's just assessment. It's like, oh, where am I at in my life with this right now? Yeah.
Yeah. Before I came to Florida, my color was red. Actually, I really liked red. And then I came
All
here
over the house.
all over, everywhere.
Didn't you
All
have
my
a red
clothes.
couch one time?
I did have a red couch one time. I had red blankets, and all the red. When I came here, suddenly I was like, yeah, red just didn't fit in my environment. Now everything is teal and blue
And green.
Oh my gosh, and greens and different shades of green and stuff like that, like the color of the Gulf that I just love. But the other thing that I incorporated into my life for the first time ever was yellow. I have yellow hair, so I was like, oh, yellow and yellow hair. But now I wear yellow, and for me, it's sunny and positive. It's that really positive vibration, which is how living here in Florida around my family makes me feel.
So glad you came down.
So glad you had me. So glad you moved here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so our last element, well, actually, it's not the last. The last one would be spirit, which is everything, but we're not going to go through spirit because that's kind of, I don't know, is it really?
Interpret it for your own meaning, what spirit is for you.
Yeah.
Because that can be like divine, goddess, God,
That would be the fifth element that
Yeah.
some people recognize or.
Yeah. Like
So
with the pentagram. So the 5 points.
So our last element then is water, represented by bodies of water and vessel shapes like cups, bowls, and chalices.
Anything that can hold liquid.
It's feminine energy, the womb of the goddess, the great mother. It's associated with feelings and nurturing. The color is blue. The season is fall and autumn or autumn. The tarot is cups. The direction is west. Other representations, seashells and blue things.
Yeah.
So one of your exercises for this week, should you choose to participate, is to find representations around your house. Don't go out and buy stuff, you guys. Just look for things around your house that represent the elements and create a space. I said altar in what I wrote up, but you may or may not want something that looks like an altar. It can just be a pretty little display, and place each of the representations that you find for those elements in their respective positions, like north, east, south, and west.
I have a little thing. Sorry, I just thought of something. I don't know if anybody here subscribes or likes feng shui, but feng shui is perfectly in alignment with anything witchy because it's all about elements and bringing in a balance and, you know, not an overabundance, but just like creating a balance in your life. So to add to this, as far as like looking around your house for things that represent the elements, there's two that we don't really associate in witchcraft. We don't call out, but wood and metal. So if you want to add this to your 4 elements that you already have, wood would be a representation of earth because wood grows from the earth. It's also nurtured by water. So you can, if you have it in areas or you have a lot of wood, just think about what that means for you. And then really metal is actually a representation of water. So whether it's the wood is nurtured with the water, like you have blue and wood in the same area, like my mom's house has a lot of browns and blues. So this would be like wood growing healthy. The other one would be lots of metals would be, you have a lot of water energy, deep emotions. Black would be, black is the color of water in feng shui because it means that you go deep into the waters of your subconscious, the real feelings on the whys and the hows of what you do. So just little side notes if you're interested in feng shui. I don't think I've ever taught that yet, but
No, we
I
haven't.
love
And we
it.
have an Astro Fun. We've been
Astro
doing
feng shui.
we've been doing that for a couple of months around our homes, and it's really awesome.
It's so fun.
Okay, so anyway, make a little space for the elements and collect things just around your house. Don't go out and buy stuff. You don't have to spend money to be a witch. We do a lot of shopping. I saw somebody who's super extra like us and goes to Goodwill. We're right there with you. We are right there with you. Goodwill is the best. I just got some cool stuff from there yesterday. Anyway, if you are so inclined, please take a picture and share it with the group in our Facebook.
Yeah.
That would be lovely. For those of you who need to be more discreet, Jayme had a suggestion about putting the elements in little boxes and maybe placing them so that nobody would even know. But if you, I had a directional or an element altar for a little while, and you really couldn't tell what it was. It just had a candle and some seashells and something red, which was kind of hard to find. I think I put incense or something fire on there, but anyway, I had that for a while as an altar. So that is also with the elements of what I would recommend you do for these is dedicate 1 page in your book of shadow for each element and write things that correspond. And if you are artistic at all, draw little things or maybe add pictures to it just to remind you what the element is about, so that because it's at a particular point in time, you're going to want this information, and that's what our book of shadows is for. In addition to our journey, it's also a reference. Okay.
Ooh, I have
anything
one,
to add for that?
Yeah, I have one for Earth. I was just reading Amy's comment that, you know, I love trying to keep it simple as far as how to relate what the elements go to, because just memorization for me, I could spend a lot of time memorizing it, but I'd rather have an association that feels right. Like I see it and I'm like, oh, that's water, that's earth, whatever. So in one of the books that I've read, as far as having dark apartments or not being able to grow plants, I was not always able to grow plants, and it used to frustrate the hell out of me. Oh my gosh, I'd buy plants and I'd kill them every time. Like, I'm just a death spot for plants.
Are you kidding me?
No, when I lived,
oh my gosh, this one is such the girl. You should see her place now.
Listen, when I lived in Japan,
plants everywhere.
They are like Japan and the elements there. It's so beautiful, and everything is about like balance and the feng shui and just like everybody has plants. It doesn't matter who you are there, you have plants and you respect them and you know them and you grow them. So I tried so many times to grow these same flowers. Like all my neighbors had them. Like, damn it, I can't keep hydrangeas, or however you say their name, alive. And I tried so hard. And so, you know, I didn't speak a ton of Japanese and all of my neighbors did not speak any English. So they would come over and they'd be hand signing to me like when to water, when not to water. And they're like, You know, so they're basically telling me like when the sun is up in the morning, water your plants. When the sun is setting, stop watering. I'm like, okay, I guess I was just drowning them. you know, I'd buy these beautiful colors and it would make me so sad. Like it used to hurt my heart. I finally said, F it, I'm not having plants until I'm more grown up. And this was when I was like 22. So I felt pretty grown up at the time. But so what I did instead, or what other people have suggested, is if you want to bring the earth element into your house, you can actually just get a pot of dirt and you can just stick fake flowers in it. Boom. You're not going to kill them. They're still beautiful to look at. They still bring in that color. And you have the grounding dirt that plants really help with. So as an idea for people who live in places that plants just don't grow, I have 2 rooms in my house that just don't have enough sunlight for plants. And it makes me sad because there's no green in there. So I put dirt in fake plants so that there's still that like grounding energy that I know, okay, I can't grow anything green in here because the sun doesn't reach it, and putting them in a skylight would be expensive. So I'm just not going to do that. So instead, I bring in that grounding energy with dirt and fake plants. I bet you've never heard that one before.
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah.
I really haven't.
Well, I have pots of dirt that I put crystals in, so it didn't seem that far-fetched for me to like just throw extra dirt into a fake plant. Nobody would know. Yeah.
There's some plants that will grow even without much care, or I think sunlight. Pothos is one of them. If you know what that is, I have it everywhere.
The pothos.
Because
It does.
I'm better now, but I was a plant killer also.
Now I know where I got it from.
Overwatering or neglect or just not forgetting all about them. I don't know. Now I really pay attention to my plants.
Yeah. You have a relationship with them.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
It's like mine. My son makes fun of me because I named some of them. It usually is a name centered around what their real name is. So it's very easy to remember for me. But you know.
I did that in my garden.
Yes. Yes, you did.
Okay. Okay. Oh, can you read that? Someone asked for a suggestion for what might go in a small box for air.
Yep. A feather. You could paint a stone yellow. So anything, you could put a piece of yellow fabric. You could put a yellow candle in there. Air, I would also say gold stuff too. That's probably not in there, but when you have gold around, gold can represent air, that communication and higher self, sitting on the crown, the mental side. Yeah. So to your heart's desire, things that represent air to you, you could actually just have a box with the symbol drawn on it. That's your air. It's just using the symbol of it instead of like a thing.
Oh, or a sword.
Oh,
is that air? Because it says
the sword, yeah.
The sword, the deck,
Yeah.
tarot deck with sword. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Do that.
Now that we're done, now that we're through elements, we're going to move on to a physical tool. Those are all our elements to understand. And we're going to talk about wands. So wands, as you probably know, can come in all kinds of materials: wood, crystal, metals. I have some examples here of little bitty wands that I have. Like, I'll take that. So this is a little bitty stick that I got out of the desert in Sedona earlier this year that I just loved. It was just so cute. I'm keeping that as a wand. I have a piece of selenite that I just purchased. That's also a little wand. I found this awesome branch. I just love the little air plant on it. It's a little, from a pine tree. It's just so beautiful. I don't know that it really makes much sense as a wand, but I just love it so much. So I have it as a representation of a wand, but I probably wouldn't actually try to direct energy with it. If you're trying to be really discreet, you could use something as simple as a pencil or a chopstick or one of those hair things. So you don't have to. First of all, I hope you guys know, if you don't, witches don't need tools. Your greatest tool is your mind. So don't feel like you have to have a wand, but they are out there. It's also fun to make so if you go and search on Etsy for wands, there's over 100,000 results. And when you narrow that down to witchcraft, it's like 4,000 different types of results for wands. Anywhere from under $20 to over $1,000, and they can be really, really intricate. They're beautiful, but whatever you pay for a wand does not relate to its effectiveness. So don't ever feel like you have to go out and buy anything or spend a bunch of money on witchcraft tools, because you don't. So If you have a wand, if you don't already have a wand this week, I would like you to find something that represents a wand for you. You can go on a nature hike, find something, a fallen branch in your yard, or anything that would represent a wand to you. The ideal length of a wand is supposed to be the distance between your elbow and your wrist, but don't worry, as you know, I showed you my little bitty wand. That's perfectly fine too. You don't have to have, there's no certain length. It is a good idea to have it pretty straight, because you're using it to direct attention. So if it's going off kind of that way, so straighter is better. If you something fun to do is to make your own tools and try it out. So you could decorate it with, you could carve magic symbols into it, your zodiac sign symbol, or anything that you want to, a sigil, a verse or a prayer or a goal or anything like that. Stain it, paint it, wrap it with wire, cord or twine, and attach crystals. Any of those things you can do. You can really get creative with your wand. Whatever you do, have fun. Try to find something that that will represent a wand for you. Later on, we'll get to using our tools, but right now we're going to start collecting our tools. If this doesn't resonate with you, like with anything else that we talk about here, don't do it. Take what you want from this, incorporate it, and leave the rest behind. So there are, when you find your wand and after you decorate it, then you're going to want to bless your wand. And there's many different ways to do this. You can search on the internet and you'll find them. There's different ways on Pinterest rather.
The interesting Pinterest.
So you can find them there. So I'm not going to go into how to bless your wand. I don't think. Did I put that in here? Oh yeah, I did. I did put how to bless your wand in the Google Drive for the Beginner Witch series. So that is there if you guys want to follow those instructions. There's exactly what you do, and then something that you can say. And if you don't like the words, you can make up your own words. But do bless your tools, or I think they may call it something else, consecrate. That's, I guess, a religious term, but okay, so that's your second task for this week, is to get a wand.
I want to say one thing about the wand, because you're moving on to something else, right?
I'm going to move on to ritual knives. Yes.
Hand me your little, nope. I don't want to reach all the way over you.
Oh, which one?
Any of them. One of the things when you're out collecting in nature, as you see things that you might like or pick up, be drawn to, when you pick it up, look for the natural way it might set in your hand. I wish I could turn my hand the other way so you could see my fingers. But because even if I hold it like maybe this hand, this would not be the hand that I do it with, but the way that it fits into your hand. So with my mom's little stick, it's got this little curve towards the bottom where a thumb and then a finger, it just naturally kind of falls into the hand in a very comfortable way. So that's something kind of cool to look for. When we were saying that it should be more straight, that just means towards the end, because all a wand is an extension of your energy going out further than your body. So you're just using it to, so that you don't have to. So imagine drawing a circle in the sand with a wand or a staff, where you would actually point it all the way to the ground and physically draw the circle. That's how it used to be done. They had a very long staff and it was drawn in the sand or the dirt. And so now for smaller wands, staffs, we use something that's more symbolic, and we imagine that the line is being drawn on wherever we're at. So you're not going to physically draw a line on your carpet or your wood floor, but you are energetically. So that's why we can have them shorter now. And you just want to make it straight because it would be the extension pointed out. So if it's like slightly curved up, you're kind of having to hold it at a weird angle to get the circle or calling the corners down to where you're going. So that's the only thing to think about. So holding it this way with the point being like all kind of, what would you call that? Squiggly wiggly.
Yeah.
This is
Something like
strangely
that.
reminding me of those dysfunction commercials for penises. I can't remember what they are, but they're like the weird vegetable ones.
Oh Lord.
Flashback commercials.
I don't know
So-
where, I never saw that before. I don't
So-
remember that. Anyway.
It seems to always come on like certain channels, but
Uh-huh.
so you would just keep one side of it straight and hopefully the other side falls into your hand rather nicely so that it's comfortable when you hold it. It should feel like an extension of yourself. So that's how I would tell you to connect with anything that you're picking up out of nature.
All right,
Yeah,
you
so
guys.
that's not all of
So,
it.
you know, the things that I asked you to do, I'm doing too. So I'm not just asking you guys to do things and then be like, oh, y'all do that. Nope, I'm going to do it too. So this is a wand that I really like. As Jayme was talking about how it fits in your hand. So this kind of has this like, it's a piece of driftwood that I found out on the beach. And I love driftwood, so I go out and collect it after storms sometimes. But this right here, because it's got a piece out of it, it sort of just like perfectly fits into my hand. And as it so happens, it's just about the right length, they say. But this week, I'm going to decorate this and I'm going to post a picture. So that will be my assignment. Hope to see yours. All right. Next, we're going to move on to ritual knives as another tool for witches. I personally don't use knives in my practice. However, the most common types of knives that are used by witches are athemes and bowlines. And an atheme is a two-sided knife with dull edges. It's not sharp. They're not used they're not used to cut anything. An atheme is not used to cut anything. They're mostly used as ceremonial knives in Wiccan rituals, like the Great Rite, which is a representation of the union between masculine and feminine energy. Anyways, they're usually blunt, double-edged with a black handle, usually. But I don't know if that's, like all of them. I don't know how usual it is because I don't use them. Bowlines, on the other hand, are sharp and are kind of curved, and they are used for cutting things or carving things. I didn't include a lot of this. If you want to use a knife, you can actually use, in your practice, you can actually use any kind of a knife as a representation for a knife. You don't have to go out. Please don't go out and buy some expensive tool that you really don't need. Unless you just have the money and you want to.
Ooh,
Go for it.
before I forget, because I meant to say this with wands, with all of your tools that you initially make or buy or somebody gifts them to you, remember that you can grow out of your tools. You do not have to keep things around forever. So if you try something in your practice and you're like, wow, this really just doesn't fit me. Maybe it's a wand that you made that you're like, all right, it came out way more rickety than I expected. And when I use it, it feels cheap and like I'm not empowered by this item. It's okay to release it back into the world, either gift it or send it back to the earth by burying it or whatever. But with a knife, say you get one and you're like, oh yeah, this really just doesn't fit me, or the wand, you can let it go. You don't have to keep it. There's not some weird like Ouija board rule that once you have it, if you get rid of it, you're cursed or something. So
Yeah.
just a side note on that. Only keep things that really bring you that make you feel powerful or magical or, bring back that energy for you that you're looking for. Okay.
Good point. That's a
you.
very good point.
Forgot to
Okay, so if any of you are interested, have an interest in bowlines and athemes, I do have more information on it. I just didn't want to spend the time here because, well, they don't really interest me. But if you would like it, if you would like more information, you can reach out to me through the Meetup or through Gmail, and I'll provide that to you if you're interested in that at all. Through the Gmail, which is 7greensisters@gmail.com, or through the Facebook group. Okay, so now I'm going to recap what your exercises are for this week. You're going to make, because that's the end of our lesson. So these are the things that we're going to do. We, not just you, but me too. So we're going to
all the way home. That's what you said.
So if you would like to find something to make as a witch's box, or find a place to dedicate in your house for your tools, like a drawer, a shoe box, a pretty box that you find, a plain box that you find, and decorate it. If this doesn't resonate with you, just skip it, but you will want a place to have your tools. So that one's kind of optional, just depending. I actually have a box although I think this box is kind of cool. I really liked this when I found it at the thrift store. And I put a bunch of tools in here, but I have so many tools that this is just a small representation of some of the tools that I have. So I kind of leave mine out on my altar and in little baskets and things like that. Okay, so that's exercise 1 with the witch's box. Number 2 is to create a page in your book of shadows for each one of the elements and write all the things that are associated with that. And then, you know, maybe find some pictures. If you're artistic, do some little drawings to represent it. You can tape things in there. So that's number 2. Ooh, number 3 is, can you hold that thought for 1 second so I don't lose my, number 3 is to find a wand, find something to represent a wand. If you don't already have one, and decorate it. And share, please share with us, because we really want to see what you're doing. If you're comfortable with that, share in the Facebook group or post it in Meetup. We'd really love to see what you guys are doing. And then the last thing is, was that it? With the shadows for each element. Okay, I think that's it. The witch's box, the elements, the wand, and then just let me know if you want more information on ritual knives, and I will provide that to you. If there's a big request for it, I'll probably type something up and put it in our drive, our Google Drive folder, for the witches group, so that everybody has it. Okay, what would you like to add to that?
Okay. Something for your book of shadows or any of your magical references that you write and keep for yourself. You guys know how when Kat was talking about yellow doesn't resonate with me for air, so I use something else. When you start to write things for yourself, there's nothing more powerful than your own associations. So I would find it really hard to associate another color with fire besides red, but if there's something that comes up for you that means something for you, write that in there too, because as you're choosing tools to do a spell or ritual, like that's something that you go to. And this is all just for you, for your personal practice. I was like, enjoyment, spell, ritual, your personal practice. And so it's not, nobody has to validate what you write down. We're not going to ask you and be like, you're following those color rules, right? No, nobody's going to do that. These are suggestive workings, and then you create what really works for you and what you feel connected to. So that was what I wanted to say is like,
Okay,
you can put your own spin on it as long as it makes sense to you, because it's what Kat said about like the strongest tool, the best tool, the only tool you need is yourself. You can shift energy just with your thoughts, because those are vibrations. Everything that we add to our spells and rituals with tools is just amplifying us. It brings our energy up. That's how we raise our energy before spells and rituals. So yeah, there's nothing that's actually needed. It's things that should help you to raise your vibration before creating the thing that you want to do.
thank you for joining us tonight for the New Witches Beginner Witch Series, week 2. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Have a great week. Happy full moon.
Happy full moon.
Yay.